47 Weeks, Life and Learnings of a Dietetic Intern. Hey guys, welcome back to 47 Weeks. It's week 28. I did a lot of stuff for a 4-day week. Monday was a holiday and I stayed home and worked on my TPN case studies to sign off my competency. Tuesday morning I did some research and then I did some chart reviews and then we went to Sportsplex for our afternoon. Wednesday was an office day, which means that we got the full day to review charts for the next individual starting the new program in Cobequid. So we were doing some scoring on some questionnaires they did and just got to know them. There was cookies and muffins and coffee all in the kitchen for you to grab, and my preceptor and I did some exercise together. It was a really nice day. How cool is it that I get to exercise with my preceptor every week? And I also went to a class and tried to recruit some individuals that are already doing the Health and Motion program to also do the Hearts at Home program and watch and evaluate the online videos we're trying to create. So individuals that are already doing the Health and Motion program to also watch the videos for the Hearts at Home cardiac rehab program we're trying to establish. So I got a few people to sign up. Thursday also started with some research and some chart reviews, but then I went to an education session on sugar and exercise and your heart health, and I learned quite a few fun facts about sugar. Thursday morning, the physiotherapist and my preceptor and I went for a walk meeting. So we were being physically active while talking about what we're gonna do in our next class. And the coolest part about Tuesdays and Thursdays is that I can stop by for lunch on my way to the Sportsplex for the afternoon. So I went home for lunch and ate some butter chicken while watching an episode of Pokemon. It was awesome. Then we went to the Sportsplex for an exercise group, then we had an education session, and then another exercise group. I was so happy. They were discussing goal setting and just checking in at the education session, and somehow the topic of breakfast came up and why we should eat it. And this lady that I talked to earlier the week before started saying all these things that we had talked about why breakfast is good for you. And I was so proud that she remembered everything, and she even tried some of the breakfast things we talked about. When I left the Sportsplex on Thursday, if I would have left 5 minutes earlier, I might have been one of the 2 people assaulted at the Sportsplex the other day. Yeah, there was a gang of youth and I was driving out and there was cop cars everywhere. I didn't know what had happened, and then maybe I'm lucky to be alive. Friday was particularly different. The day started off with the label reading tour, which was actually for the Hearts in Motion participants. So I saw some familiar faces there. And in the afternoon, she was teaching you cooking for one class, where she talked about how you can take one ingredient and then use it in multiple different ways so that you don't get sick of eating the same thing. And Friday night we had a spontaneous hangout with Christine and Craig, so that was really fun. I learned how to roast peppers and then how to use them in 2 different recipes. We made Mediterranean wraps and a goat cheese salad. I also learned that labels can be confusing. You know, it's easy for us nutrition students to know what DV means and if a certain number of grams is actually a lot, but if you've never got taught what it means, it's actually quite harder to understand, and I have more empathy in being able to perceive why people might not read it. I learned about some of the label changes that they're planning on making, like adding the potassium and taking the vitamin A and vitamin C off because we get enough of that, as well as adding a % daily value for the grams of sugar that people are having, because it's just so much that they're getting from their foods. Did you know that a woman should only have 6 teaspoons of added sugar per day? A man should have 9. And do you know how many teaspoons of sugar a can of Coke has? 15. So as a joke, someone said, it looks like a man and a woman can share a can of Coke. But that's it. That's all you should have for the day. And individuals are having, 20-something, 30-something teaspoons of added sugar a day. I also learned some really good tips for doing grocery tours, if I ever get to do that in the future, such as looking for the right nutrients depending on what section you're shopping for. So instead of worrying about everything when you're in the grain section, to make sure you watch the sodium, because it's the sneaky additive there, as well as the fiber. And when you're in the cereal aisle, to watch for the sugar as well as the fiber. Individuals on the tour really found that helpful. I learned about some cool history of Sobey's dietitians and how they began, and at first the program funding was cut, and then they reintroduced dietitians, but they're hired through the pharmacy, and that's what allows them to work even though their classes are mostly free. The Sobey's dietitian really loves her job. She says it's like having a private practice, but you don't worry about any of that. You just do your classes and you talk to people and you do what you want. There's no, curriculum or plan of the recipes you should cover or a budget on how much they can cost. You decide what you're gonna teach and what you're gonna cook, and it seems like it would be a great job, if cardiac rehab isn't hiring in the meantime. When doing the grocery store tour, I also learned that there are many greens that I never heard about that are out there. There was a Zen blend lettuce mix we looked at, and there was like pak choi, and I don't even know, but there was at least 8 different kinds of lettuce that I hadn't even heard. So it just makes me wonder about all the vegetables I don't even know about. It was funny because Zen is actually the name of our good friend's new baby. So I was like, it's your lettuce mix. I learned that there's a great walking trail kind of behind the Teachers Union building, parallel to Joseph Howe. I didn't know that was there, but that's really good. Good place to exercise and have walk meetings. There's a lot of learnings this week. I learned that a lot of people need more healthy breakfast ideas that are filling and something they can make quickly. It seems to be a common issue. If there's any one meal to work on, it's usually breakfast. And with some of the research I've been doing Tuesday and Thursday mornings, I was looking up some stuff on soy because I was hearing that, is it linked to cancer, is it not? So the answer is, it's not. I was reading about probiotics and how they're starting to be used for some individuals that might have IBS. So before you try the FODMAP diet, you might want to try probiotics and see if that restores the balance in the gut flora first. And there's so much potential for probiotics to be used for many other diseases in the future. Weight loss, obesity, cancer, you name it. I also learned that in the past, people thought that the more protein you ate, the higher amount of calcium was excreted in your urine. But then they learned that as your calcium urine increases, your absorption of calcium in the gut increases as well. So then they busted this myth that high protein increases calcium excretion. I learned about some of the logistics as to why, if anyone wants to do community rotation with Sobey's or the Superstore, they can only take interns for 4 weeks. And that's because there's just a lot of forms and things you gotta figure out, and it doesn't really make it worth it if you're only there for a week or 2. And one of my biggest learnings from this rotation is really why people love Hearts in Motion. You talk to everybody, individuals, whether it's their first time doing the program, the second, or the third, and it kind of makes you think, well, if the program wasn't successful the first time, do you find it useful? Do you like coming here? And it really doesn't matter if people reduce their risk factors per se. They just love coming to a place where everyone is so positive and optimistic and people are there to support you. So it's really amazing. I've been telling some of the Hearts in Motion participants about Sustain Your Body and some of our videos, and I had one of the individuals go and watch it, and he left a comment on last week's video, and it was the sweetest comment ever. It made me cry, and he mentioned how my energy is great and that I'm motivating and that he's already learned a lot, and it really touched me. I really felt like with Hearts in Motion, the little tips that you gave to individuals, whether it's, maybe you could try Greek yogurt instead of yogurt, or skim milk instead of 1% milk. If people tried it and they could make that change, they it didn't matter how small it was. They really valued your advice and the fact that you just cared about them. And I really felt like I made the most impact during this rotation than in my entire internship. I love working in the community. I also wanted to give a big congrats to Lauren. She's a viewer that got an internship with the Nova Scotia Health Authority, and she emailed me and asked for some interview tips and any other advice, and I'm so proud. Good job. So my plans for next week: on Monday I start at the Nutrition Education Clinic in nephrology, so that's going to be really good complement for my renal outpatient rotation that's coming up afterwards. Friday, I'm going bridal dress shopping after internship with some of the other bridesmaids in my friend's wedding, so that's gonna be fun. I've never been in a wedding, so this is very exciting. Next week, I'm also meeting with my ICU preceptor, and we're gonna go over my evaluation and hopefully sign off my TPN competencies. And last but certainly not least, next Saturday is my boyfriend Skylar's birthday, so I'm planning a pamper day for him as well. It's no surprise because he's the one editing the video, but it's gonna be good. Thanks so much for being fans and for watching. I really hope that my videos are helpful. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you again soon. Remember, sustain your body, sustain your life.